Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? I'm actually not going to talk about nibs today. I'm going to talk about the current devil in my life. I don't know why I'm doing this. I've got a good friend who does urushi who lives maybe half an hour away. I could let him do this. I wouldn't have to suffer this way. I wouldn't have to break out and itch and all that crazy shit. But, well, I'm a masochist when it comes to crafts. And, of course, pens led to nibs. Nibs led to stacking nibs. Kind of got the stacking down. But urushi is a thing, really. And by that I mean it gets under your skin. I went so far as to track down a weird ass little knife that urushi artists often use to trim brushes. I got really crazy and starting to learn how to make the crazy brushes before, of course, I got, actual ones from Japan so that I know what I'm trying to copy. That's just me being eager. Anyway, you know how I am about, I'm not going to say being cheap, but finding something that works, that will replace or at least give me a little time between buying an expensive thing. If you have ever made your own paints, whether they're watercolor or oil or, I don't know, caseins, you need what's called a muller. It basically is a glass blob that you scrooge around to blend the pigments and your base into a nice, fine, gloppy mess that you can paint with and get decent pigment dispersion. And by pigment, I mean, hold on a second. Where the hell did I put that? There we go. By pigment, I mean things like this, which is ultramarine blue pigment that's usually used for making oil paints or watercolors that I just happen to have around because, like I said, one craft leads into another. Anyway, mullers are occasionally difficult to get, and sometimes they're on the pricey side. I didn't want to have to wait weeks to get one ordering them from somewhere. And I realized what I needed was something glass, heavy, and flat on the bottom. Looked at shot glasses, no dice. And I was farting around on Amazon and found these guys. You'll never guess what this is, unless, of course, you do canning. It is a weight to stick in mason jars to hold down whatever it is you're fermenting. It's actually kind of heavy. But the best thing about it is it's got the knob and it's got a relatively flat bottom. Relatively. I'm fond of 220 grit sandpaper. If you have silicon carbide 220 grit, you can flatten the bottom so that it's sort of matte, which grinds in pigment really well. And if you're using a glass cutting board like I am to mix up your urushi and you want to put pigments in it, like, pardon me, I'm going to hold this here as a placeholder for my face, which you don't see anyway. Mess. Shuai urushi is urushi mixed with oil. It's designed basically to be the stuff, or be the base rather, for pigments you add. It's really great to mix pigments with a wooden spatula into your urushi. But what about a Western solution? This thing is fabulous. I've used it to mix Tanoko powder with urushi. Really good results. When I've used pigments like the ultramarine blue, I've also, or rather am trying this Stuart Semple Black version 1. He's the guy who's creating a competitor for Vanta Black, the ridiculously black pigment paint that absorbs something like 99.6% of visible light. This isn't that dark, but it's really nice. It's got good potential. This mixes it into the shuai really well. So if you're doing urushi for kintsugi, or you're trying to learn the pen stuff, and you want to mix your own urushi with color in it by pigments, get one of these, flatten it down, and go to town. And of course, if you're doing, the whole paint making thing, also tell your friends. It's worth I think I got four of them. That's overbuying. 4 of them for like $17 on eBay Prime, which of course means nothing anymore, but they got here in a reasonable amount of time. So I have 4. I gave one to a friend. My friend across the way does urushi. I've got 2 more that I'm going to give to people or start using them. This one's for brown, the other one is for blue, and the other one is for red, or something like that. So, interesting tool that allows you to do what you want to do for a little bit less and gives you a bit to work with. And if you bust it, $16, I hope, isn't going to bother you much. So, wish me luck. Just got a new job. Life is pretty good. The knee surgery went okay. I'm not particularly thrilled with the results because it's not healing instantaneously, which was a misapprehension on my part that it would. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing great. Enjoy your little glass weighty things. Always do your urushi sanding wet. And, right, have a good springtime.